People are worried about student performance at the I Promise school, which is supported by LeBron James.
There are also concerns as test scores reveal many students falling short of the state standards.
The amount of tears that I saw from teachers that work there.
5 years after LeBron James opened his very own school in Akron, Ohio, not a single student in the 8th grade passed the state math exam. 0.
One child passed the state test in math, not one.
For a project that was supposed to change the future of Akron's most vulnerable kids, the numbers were brutal. And it wasn't just a single bad year. Over multiple years, test results have been abysmal, classrooms full of children, yet almost no one meeting state standards. So what happened? On paper, the I Promise school was the boldest experiment in modern education. LeBron James, the hometown kid turned global superstar, promised to give struggling children everything he never had: stability, safety, and a shot at college. The press headlines were glowing. LeBron saves Akron. The king builds a school fit for champions. But today, behind those glossy headlines and inspirational quotes, the reality looks much darker.
Quote, death note was found on the school grounds.
Teachers are burning out. Principals keep leaving.
Principal of the LeBron James I Promise school in Akron has submitted her resignation.
Parents are asking where the promise went. This is the disturbing truth about LeBron's I Promise school. To understand why this school even exists, you must start with LeBron's own story. As a kid, LeBron didn't just change addresses. He bounced from apartment to apartment, from one borrowed couch to the next, never knowing how long stability would last. Sometimes he didn't go to school at all for weeks at a time, not because he didn't want to, but because survival came first. He's told the story many times. I missed so much school, teachers saw the potential, but life wouldn't let me focus. For most kids, that kind of start ends the story. But for LeBron, basketball became his escape. And when he made it out, he carried that childhood with him. Every missed class, every unstable night. So when he had the money, the influence, and the spotlight, he decided he wasn't just going to build gyms or sponsor programs. He was going to do something bigger. In 2018, the I Promise school opened its doors, and it wasn't pitched as just another public school. It was a lifeline. Students received free meals, longer school days, an extended school year, counseling for both kids and parents, GED programs for adults, uniforms, transportation, housing support. The idea was radical. If you stabilize life outside the classroom, the child has a chance inside it. And then came the headline promise, a pathway to college. The LeBron James Family Foundation pledged scholarships for kids who stayed on the course. The local community cried tears of joy. Teachers said they finally felt like someone was investing in them. National media swooned. It looked like a fairy tale in the making, the hometown hero rewriting Akron's story. But fairy tales, especially in public education, rarely survive reality, because just as fast as the dream began, the cracks started to show. And they started with one uncomfortable question: who was paying for all of this? The money question was always lurking in the background, but early on, few wanted to bring it up. Was this really LeBron's school? Or was Akron Public Schools quietly carrying the weight? The official line was clean. APS covered operating costs. The foundation paid for the extras. But soon, parents and taxpayers began noticing blurred lines. What exactly counted as extra? Meals? Counselors? Uniforms? At a board meeting in 2023, frustration spilled over. Members asked, if the foundation is taking credit, why are local taxpayers carrying such a large share? Some parents defended LeBron. After all, no one else was stepping up with this much ambition. But others wondered if the city was subsidizing the LeBron brand more than the kids themselves. And this is where context matters. Public-private partnerships in education have always been messy. From charter schools to celebrity-backed academies, funding has often been murky, accountability inconsistent. Akron was no different. If the finances weren't crystal clear, what else wasn't? And then, when the test scores came in, those doubts turned into something impossible to ignore. By year 3, the test results arrived, and they were devastating. Entire grades failed state math exams. Reading scores lagged. One report showed that not a single 8th grader passed math for 3 straight years. And in 2024 to 25, just 2 out of 75 7th graders passed the state math test. That's 2.7%. Parents were heartbroken. One told local press, "We believed in the promise, but now I feel like we've been sold hope that isn't showing up in the classroom." Teachers were crushed. The numbers weren't just disappointing, they were catastrophic, and the world noticed. National headlines flipped, "Miracle School fails, LeBron's promise broken." And here's where retention becomes key. When the public sees numbers this bad, context gets lost. Few remember that IPS specifically enrolled children who were already behind. Few consider that progress in trauma-heavy communities takes years. Instead, the narrative is simplified. LeBron built a school and it's failing. Make sure you hit subscribe. We dive deep into the untold stories behind basketball on and off the court. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. But as bad as the test scores were, the real chaos wasn't in the numbers, it was inside the school walls. The numbers were bad, but what broke the school wasn't just academics, it was instability. Teachers left, specialists left, principals came and went like revolving doors. And then came one of the ugliest moments, the Death Note incident. A student created a notebook, modeled after an anime, listing names of classmates and teachers. When word got out, panic spread. Pat Shipe, president of the Akron Education Association, described it. She added, "This wasn't the nurturing environment families had been promised. It was chaos, and this isn't just an IPS problem. Teacher burnout, turnover, and safety fears plague schools nationwide. The difference here is the name on the building. Every stumble is magnified because it's tied to LeBron James. And just when things seemed ready to collapse, the national spotlight came crashing down." At first, national outlets couldn't get enough of the fairy tale. But when the test scores went public, those same outlets turned on the school overnight. Twitter mocked LeBron. Pundits debated whether this was all just a PR stunt. Inside Akron, the truth was more complicated. Local journalists noted some real gains. Attendance had improved. Families were receiving support services. Kids felt a stronger sense of belonging, but nuance doesn't trend. The foundation and district scrambled to defend the school. They reminded the public that IPS students had entered years behind. They said change takes time. LeBron himself posted encouragements, praising resilience, insisting the long-term mission was still on track, but union leaders weren't convinced. After the Death Note fiasco, they accused the district of protecting image over safety. It didn't look like transparency. It looked like damage control. And here's the deeper issue. In America, celebrity philanthropy often runs into the same trap. The spotlight demands constant positivity. Negative results get spun or softened. And schools, unlike sneaker lines or foundations, can't afford to be PR exercises, which left one final haunting question. Was this about actually keeping the promise, or just keeping the image alive? By its 5th year, the I Promise School was no longer just a school, it was a national symbol. Every stumble became a headline. Every small victory became a narrative. So, is it a failure? No. Is it a miracle? Also no. It's something much harder to define. The I Promise School is both a beacon of ambition and a mirror of reality. It shows how far money and fame can go and how far they can't. The gap between what was promised and what was delivered is a wound that still hasn't healed, and it all circles back to LeBron's childhood. He built this school to make sure no kid ever had to miss weeks of class because of instability. But 5 years later, the disturbing truth is this: many of these kids are still falling through the cracks. So, as parents gather outside those doors every afternoon, the question hanging in the air isn't just about this year's test scores. It's bigger. Can one man's dream, even backed by millions, and the brightest spotlight really rewrite the fate of children failed for so long? Or was the promise too big to ever be kept?